right. Hey, welcome back to the Art2Life podcast. I'm come back into the studio and I am now looking at something that I've made and wondering what to do. And this is a tricky part when you're making something and you don't have a plan and it's just starting. So this is all about coming back into your art, having it started, but then how to come back into it and re-energize it. Re-energize yourself. So this, and if you want to see what happened in the go to the previous episode. I think it's episode 110. And I talk about starting this picture here. And this is kind of like a commission. I'm doing it for my daughter, Lila, but I'm not thinking about what this needs to be for her at this point. I know the painting wants to be light in feeling. I know that. So I tend to do the opposite when I begin. So you can see a lot of these dark tones are on here. But right now I am just interested in continuing to see what happens. I'm still in a pretty play mode. And I find this is the best way to learn and discover new things. Serendipity, just occurrences happen by accident. I was surprised last time that I put all this pink on here and I was just trying to do something daring in it. I kind of like it, I didn't think I would. I'm trying to stay not attached to this at this point at all and just keep playing on it. This is 54 inches by 60. It's acrylic on canvas. I'm going to take the canvas off when it's done and roll it up and ship it to New York and have it stretched there. Let me just give some of the things I tend to do at this juncture, which is I've worked on something, at least it's not white anymore, and now where do I go? So, as I was saying in the previous episode, I like the marks I do make. Even if I don't understand them, I try to put them down so I like them. But they're not necessarily going to be part of the painting, but I need to like what's happening. And so I will change things around and work on things without any aim in mind, except that I like it more. That seems to be the one thing that's important. So sizes of things, and I'm not really like designing things, but generally I like things that there's some differences. I tend to accentuate differences always from the get-go. If I want a light picture, I'll do really dark. I try to bring a lot of energy into the thing because it's just a white picture when I start. And that's kind of where I want to go into right now, what I want to share with you. I need to get this thing going and I need to see it fresh. So I haven't seen it for a little bit, but it still looks a certain way. So what I tend to do is I'm going to flip this up the other way. Right off the bat. So I see it completely differently and kind of like it better. It's kind of cool I'm looking at a video, in my phone as I'm filming this. So I'm seeing a small version of the painting. So I actually like that better. So one thing that I'm doing also in this series of podcasts is I'm making this painting kind of start to finish. It is going to take longer than a few episodes, but I'll speed through. So there'll be patches where you'll just see the thing will progress. But I'm going to be working today on just covering more, but also bringing more energy to it. That's really, really important. And so flipping upside down and really going for it at this stage, because if you can't go for it now, it's certainly, you're not going to do it later when you've put more time into it and you like it better. You almost have to, outsmart yourself. I have a clock going, I've given myself about 40 minutes here and I'm going to just make the most of it. And I like that as an approach where I take a chunk of time, I stop, I don't answer my phone, I don't do anything, I just go for it. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy it much more that way. So this might be something that, if you ever are, trying to kind of get into your art, just really set a timer, and step it up. I know in workshops, we do an exercise where we take 2 panels instead of 1, and they're 12 inches. So it's a 12-inch by 24-inch panel. And we do 3 songs. So it's about 10 minutes. And the music's super loud, and we just go for it. And I mean, 60-70% of the people, the best work they make in the entire workshop, and we're there for 7 days, are the things they made in those 10 minutes. It's crazy. Your intuition comes in when you don't have a lot of time to think about things. So how do we use our soul? How do we use our intuition more? How do we not think so much? Because this is all we do in the day. I know I'm thinking constantly, what do I need to do? I got to get my car insurance. We're strategizing. I don't want to go to the car place because, the DMV's in the other direction. So I'll wait till Wednesday and then I'll drive. That kind of thinking is horrible for art making. But what we do want is we want this intuitive, we want to be in flow state. And flow state, I mean, just presence and not worrying about so much, not thinking about what people think, not thinking about how this is, if my daughter's going to like this or not, whether I'll like it or not. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down. Once someone else enters the picture, that person who's waiting for it or the commission, it becomes problematic. There's all kinds of minefields there. One of the things, and this is not a minefield for me because it's my daughter and the stakes are low in terms of, it's not like it's a gift, but when I am making something for a commission, I will always do several. And that frees me up because I have spares and extras. So that might be something, if you struggle with doing commissions, I was a wreck. And until I started doing multiples of them, I wasn't able to do it. And now I love it. I end up usually with 2 or 3 things that I like. And I try to make it so the person who is expecting the commission, that they have a hard time choosing which one they want. And they rarely pick the one you think they're going to want, by the way, which was always amazing to me. The backup is usually the one that they choose because it's better, because you're not worrying about it so much. You put all the effort into one, and then the second one is just more free and it gets to be itself, and it just looks better. It's kind of wild. Okay, so back to this picture. I've been wetting the surfaces of my paintings. These are acrylic, and I've put a sponge on this, and I've just dampened it down to keep the paint that I put on top of it so it dries slower. I love the quality of building up the paint. So I'm learning ways to make acrylic more like oil paint with cold wax in it. So know that on top of this I've wet it down so it's going to dry, the paint's going to dry slower and stay stickier longer. What's great about when a painting is mostly dry, that now you can come in and you can do things that have high contrast. And I'm not just talking about lightness and darkness. I'm talking about marks. I'm talking about something on top of something. We're starting to get this amazing difference of layering. And that's something that you kind of can do in the beginning, but the paint's all wet and you can't really do it because it smears, like this yellow line here goes in front of it. But now things are kind of more dry, and I can start putting things on top of things. And this is where it gets really interesting. So that's a bonus of going back in. What I like to do at this point is, high risk, high level of playing, but also I want to look at this picture here and look at what do I like? Is there anything here that's exciting? And I think, I think I like this gray color and this reddish color. I like kind of some of the little chips of a bright yellow, some of this smearing, this color, but I'm not like crazy about this so much. But yeah, I'm feeling like I want to come in with more of these candy colors laying on top of that because I'm liking what it looks like, and I'll probably overdo it. But this is what I do. I look where the juice is. I look what's kind of interesting, and I go. That's where I start, and that's where I'll start right now. I'm going to start making some other colors that are a little more saturated, and put them on top of here. Start layering it on. If something feels good, I will do more, especially this stage. I don't worry too much about getting the perfect color at all. I tend to think more in terms of light and dark, and placing light things on dark things, just as a general rule of thumb, because you see them more. I'm putting a light line on top of a dark area right now. And that is what, that value contrast is powerful. And I use that to keep myself excited. Like it makes great, it's compelling. It activates, brings attention to areas in the work. And as a general rule, I'm smoothing out the surfaces using the trowel. These are trowels that they're from Italy. We sell them on our website. They're the best ones because they're flexible. And, they're used for putting plaster, wall finishing. So they're really nice. I'm interested in getting all this, building up this paint into nice smooth layers. I tend to paint really thick because I'm trying to, activate the colors. So I'm not glazing at this period or anything. I'm just painting really direct and really thick. Whenever I have a strong color, I'll always add a little bit of the complement in just as a general rule. So I'm mixing up this green color and I'll add a little bit of red. It's still saturated. Often, I'm not liking what I'm making here. And it's almost a good thing. Because it's going to force me to push myself more and more and more. What happens is I start to get areas that are wet and others that are more dry, and it all kind of starts to mix together. But I like to come in with colors that I've used previously. So this gray color that's in the background, I will mix up a lot of this and come back in on the top. So I'm playing around with things behind things and things in front of things. This gray, this color, coming in with some really thick white right now. I changed my mind and thought this was more gray, but it's actually very light. I just liking how this is feeling. And that's such a great thing, it's like you have complete freedom, to do what you want. In this, we struggle sometimes to get into the studio, but realizing that you get to be completely free once you're here, if you can feel free. And that's kind of what I'm teaching, actually, a lot, helping people with. If you can feel that way, then the burden, the challenge of coming into the studio, the procrastination, the self-doubt, all that tends to dissipate. So I love that reframe, thinking of your art as this Sunday. It's like, yeah, I'm working on Sunday and I'm not at the movies, but for this afternoon, for this evening, I'm totally free. And that is kind of amazing. And there's tremendous growth in that. We tend to go and entertain ourselves with other people doing things, because it is interesting to watch, to get inspired by. It's like watching a great movie. It's inspiring. It's a lot easier than doing something, just sitting there getting entertained. But in a way, that's what we're doing. We're making art. Maybe you can think of it that way. It makes it more cool. So already, this being the kind of the second pass of this, I'm already starting to get some of the kind of quality of the paint that I'm after. It's really thick. And, I use these shop towels to wipe off the extra paint. Looking at this, what I tend to do is constantly looking and asking myself, what is this? What do I have too much of? What's boring me? What part is exciting me? Where in the last 10 minutes did it feel better? It's a visceral response, because those are clues for me to do more of what made me feel that way. It's an interesting approach. It's the Art2Life approach, is that we feel a certain way first, and then our art turns out like that. It's not that the art, oh my God, I made a thing and it just has a certain feeling. That feeling, if you can grab your arms around it and connect with that, is in you first. So looking at this, I have all these kind of repetition of squares and shapes, and it has a lot to do with the sizes of the brush, So what feels good, is scraping back through with this line. It's a hard pencil, and it looks good because there isn't anything like this on here. And I haven't been able to do this on this picture yet. And I'm just moving and drawing, cruising around, watching what's happening, scraping through the surfaces. Just kind of putting a patina on the surfaces here. Just manipulating the paint a little as it's drying. If we put all the colors appearing in all the areas, it starts to harmonizes the picture. It kind of makes it feel more cohesive. A roller without a roller. It just puts all these lines on the surface. It's kind of cool. I tend to use tools. Some tools are so much bigger than me that I cannot control because of the kind of marks that it makes. Tools that are bigger than what you normally use. And as the paint's getting more dry now, I can start scraping through a little bit to areas underneath. They talked about that sticky quality of the paint, but as it's drying, it's not quite dry, you can scrape through it. So really, I'm putting the paint on, I put paint on, but now I'm manipulating the paint in ways that are different than the typical brush. For me to keep going, painting with a paintbrush, it just creates the same kind of marks. And of course, this is just subjective, but for me, I get bored of that and I try to bring in differences. Always feeling like, what will aggregate this area? So now I can go back in and paint these areas, put more paint on this, and cover up areas and smooth things out. And I want to use some color or some value or something that I don't have here. So I have a lot of color, lightish colors here. And so I'm going to be coming in with a gray, a darkish gray, to activate it. You know, it wasn't until I was really trying to describe, I don't really talk so much when I'm making my paintings. And I didn't really realize that one of the things I do is I totally look for, I'm just painting opposites. I'm painting differences. I want to paint something that's kind of dark now and kind of not colorful. And it's kind of a nice approach. It's interesting how doing that kind of keeps things moving. Again, this painting right now is not very powerful. It's colorful and pretty, I guess, but I really want to be bold here and activate it. And I think that's my goal. So what can I do now that's going to make this thing really change it? I like the bottom of the picture more than the top. But that's great because there's something here. Something's happening. Something's happening with the bottom of that. I'm not sure what, but the variety, and there's something exciting about that down there. And that's the first time this painting's really given me anything sort of noteworthy. But that's exciting. I don't know what it is yet, but I will figure it out. Something's going on down there. And this is the way things happen. I mean, I don't have a plan, but the plan, if there is a plan or the process, is letting what needs to happen. So what does happen is strong. When I do large areas, I always have to go back in to those big flat areas and manipulate those if they're just so empty. Rolling, using a paper towel as a brush, letting some of the paint underneath come through. It's really thick. What's so great about a paper towel is that you don't have to clean it. You can just take it off. Using tools that you can't control, but you just bring in, it's kind of amazing what, this idea of trying something to see what will happen. Incredibly engaging. It makes cool art, but it also draws you in. What's going to happen? I like to use tools that keeps me at a distance from the work. Pencils are great, but that means you're right up close to the art. The further I can get back, often more interesting or kind of less control I have. We're making marks. I'm trying to make marks and have them connect as I'm feeling the whole picture. I want to be looking at the whole picture as I'm making the marks. So in a way, the marks are connected in a weird kind of way, because as you're making them, you're considering the other one, some unexplained kind of referential angle. So I have a little stick here that I use a lot. It allows me to kind of scrape through and bring in line. It's almost like we're setting something up. We're setting up the conditions for things to happen, as opposed to making things happen. And this is one of the things at workshops. Our last workshop in Morocco was different. I brought some guests, some artists, and some amazing collaborators, some really creative people. And I knew by mixing them into the group, that it would change in a good way the experience for people. And I didn't know exactly how, but I love that idea of just, what are the ingredients? What are the things that we want to add to our art? The tools we use, the paint we use, the outlandish marked things, the different ways we're feeling. How can we bring all these juicy parts together to then make something? Because it all impacts it, all the things I have here today. I'm using a little piece of vellum. I use this a lot, this piece of vellum. It's crazy. It allows me to literally smooth out the paint. Not totally. And as it dries, almost like polish it. It becomes like mud. Now, when I look at the work, I'm loving that bottom part, and I can ask myself, what's happening here that makes this? There's something about this down here, and I think it has to do with just this more clean, crisp lights in here. And I'm going to bring some lights back up into this area as a result of that. The paint's really thick, so sometimes what I'll do is just remove it. Which is also kind of a cool thing, having the paint be really thin. Areas that I can kind of swipe back through, smear back through, take some of that thick paint off. Which is just starting to happen now in this phase, is that a lot of color and a lot of underpainting and a lot of painting on the top and a lot of the script is starting to create a richer symphony of marks and colors, and it starts to become more complicated in a good way, but also very difficult to see it, to understand it, and you recognizing when you're just getting sucked in can be good, because it's a good time to stop and move to something else. I've learned that when I start losing it a little bit, I'm liking parts of it, I have to stay bold, I have to stay active, but I'm leaving this bottom part. So already I'm painting around things. I am going to work on this top part because I do want to create something, but I'm not going to spend too much longer on this, because I feel like it's moved. The needle's been moved. There's something happening here, and I want to digest it. I've moved the ball down the field, and I want to think about this. Like, I don't know what's going on down here. This funny part, So I'm going to try and do something up here, and then I'm going to get out and work on something else. I tend to use all my paint in squeeze bottles because it's so much faster. I've learned from years of making art, spending time opening containers, squeezing things out. So I tend to have everything in squeeze bottles. I'd almost rather fill them later than deal with it when I'm art making. So everything that I have here, there's no resistance to using things. Everything's sitting here. I can leave it out. It's hard enough. I like to use up or grab paint from earlier sessions. One thing I do a lot is just change existing shapes and just repaint them. And just the process of repainting them brings energy to them, because what's underneath them activates with what you're painting on top of it. Even if I change it back, I'm liking this lighter color, yellow. If I don't like color, I often will just paint it out, keeping it underneath the other color, but never erase, because that color is down there and will come through. I'm staying away from thinking about design or composition or anything. I'm just staying more instinctual here. I'm very much in the play mode. But I like this. I'm more excited about it than I was when I started, which is a very good thing. It doesn't always go that way. So that's the main goal. I consider a win if I come in and end up having more energy around what I made and where it was. I have a lot of paint on here now. And I haven't really even started working on this yet. That's got areas that are exciting to me, and it's still, I'm not falling in love with this at all. I'm already seeing what I want to do with it. I'm feeling, I'm gaining this objectivity, but I want to think about it. I want to look at this. I want to clean up and keep looking at it. And so when I come back in, I'll be even more objective to it. And be able to change this and modify it and let it go even more. All this paint is sticky. It's a great surface. It's a great time to be able to scrape through, manipulate it, and it will stay this way for probably an hour, which is kind of amazing. So I might come back to this maybe in an hour, or maybe just leave it now and go after it on the next session. Anyway, I hope some of this conversation, some of my rambling here while I'm making this is helpful. You never know. It might trigger something for you. I hope so. Listen, thanks for being here. And if you know of anyone who is interested in making things and creativity, please let them know about this podcast. And I so appreciate you being here. If you have any questions about what I'm doing or comments, you can go to art2life.com and click on podcasts. And there's a little yellow tab on the right-hand side, and it says ask a question or leave a comment. And you can record something, just a voice memo of what you're thinking. And it's great. And I will dive into those and look at those, and I will answer some of those when I come back to this in a few days, if I do another episode on this, which I will. I'm probably going to do a few. Those would be really great. I can speak to them as I'm working. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here, and I will talk to you really soon. Okay. Bye.